Hi, welcome to the new podcast, Awaken with Shadow Work. My name is Caroline Reilly, and I've got lovely Cheryl Ashburn with me from America, talking to us from Oregon. You've travelled a long way to be there.
Oh yes, a long way from Arkansas to Oregon.
Okay.
Went from central Arkansas to Arizona to Seattle, and then I've been here in Oregon 2.5 weeks.
Wow. Okay. So you've set up home over there. So you're planning on staying?
Yes, actually, I did astrocartography reading for astrology, and this is a placement for that for my astrology. It's Chiron on my midheaven, so I figured it would be a good time to heal myself through Chiron and dig a little bit deeper, and that's why I wanted to move here and do my art, and I felt it would be a better placement for me. So
brilliant. Okay, so you're going to be telling us about a little bit about your shadow work journey. So do you want to get started with that? You tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to start sort of introspecting and finding out about who you are.
well, like I was telling you before this, I felt like I've been doing shadow work for a really long time, going through like life situations to where that I really needed to look at myself with the people that I was, around, people that have been in my life for a long time, people that I even called friends, so I needed to start looking, my relationship when I was married, how I needed to look at myself and not just like, because it was a pretty hard road, growing up and, going through a lot of stuff, so like shadow work to me is definitely a reflection,
Yeah. So you must have come across some kind of difficult situations or relationships in your life which made you have to start thinking about introspecting, because obviously if you were having a lovely time of it, you probably would never have looked at yourself in the first place. You would never have wanted to introspect. So you must have a few things that were wrong, possibly.
Yeah, besides, not having the best parents in the world and then getting into a really bad relationship with my ex-husband, always, it felt like a roller coaster ride, emotionally, and of course, I wanted to get off the roller coaster. And also, I had thyroid issues. I had 2 hot nodules in my thyroid 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that played a lot into the shadow work, because with the pharmaceutical companies, they want to put you on medicine and,
right, yeah.
That's always in your head. It's always a chemical imbalance. That was the really struggle for me, is to fight knowing that that's not who I was, prior, you know what I mean? And then, going through a bad relationship at the same time. It was kind of, yeah. So once my thyroid was removed, I took myself off all the pharmaceuticals. I was still in the relationship.
Yeah.
I took myself off all of the pharmaceuticals except for the thyroid medicine, and I started actually taking a deeper look at myself and why I was putting that into my life. All the people that around me did the same thing, that kind of thing, and why I was in the relationship that I was in. And finally, I just left the relationship after all that.
Okay. And at what point did you get into like New Age? Did you start off with the New Age before you kind of started looking more into sort of the truth movement? How did that kind of pan out for you? Because it seems to be a regular story that I'm hearing with people on this group.
Well, how it started out for me, I was raised differently than most Americans. Like
Right.
I went to church on Saturdays. We didn't eat pork. We didn't celebrate Christmas. We went by the Old Testament. Sabbath for us was Friday evening to Saturday evening when the sun went down to the sun, sunset to sunset. So so I was a little bit different. I was one of those.
Sorry, can I ask what kind of sect that is in religion? I wouldn't. What are they called? What do they call themselves?
Well, we were non-denominational, so we wouldn't call ourselves much of anything. It was the guy that started it. It was a branch. I'm not sure what denomination, like Methodist or whatever, but his name was Herbert W. Armstrong out of Pasadena, California. And like we would have different sects all over the United States. It was really weird. Like we wouldn't celebrate Christmas, but we would celebrate what was it called, Feast of Tabernacles, where we would go on trips for like 7 days, and we would go to church every day and have potluck, and like we would fast on certain occasions because we didn't eat pork or bottom feeders or anything of that nature. Like growing up, I couldn't have Oreos. And plus I was one of those kids that sat out in the hall during Christmas parties in school, in public school.
Oh no.
So yeah, so that mine's a little bit different, you know.
Yeah, amazing.
So my spiritual stuff came a little bit earlier, because at the age of 14 we were allowed to go, and whether we wanted to be with the church, make a decision whether we wanted to stay with the church or move on, you know. So of course, you know, being a 14-year-old in the early 90s, move on. But as far as the astrology and the tarot cards and stuff, I started doing that when I was like 19, 20 years old. You know, I started drawing out because, you know, we didn't have computers then, you know, to do birth charts. Yeah. I had a book. It was called The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need. So I started drawing out birth charts and doing my own birth charts. And my friends, about 19 to 23 years old, somewhere around there. So that's where I really started off again, you know, and then life happened.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So with the truth movement, have you had much involvement in the truth movement? Like how long have you been kind of following this this, you know, alternative research community? How long have, because I know that you are interested in that.
Yeah, I'm really into it. I've been following the truth community since about 2009. I started listening to podcasts then when I was going through that bad relationship right after my thyroid was removed. Like the last couple of years of it, I was going through a lot of, you know, questioning things. You know, I was listening to a lot of Tennant's McKinnon and, you know, just like wanting to know. I spent a lot of alone time. I had a lot of alone time. So that was like 2009, 2011. I had like, you know, like a lot of the awakening process that a lot of us go through, I think, in this movement. That's a big time period for a lot of people, I think, I've heard.
Yeah.
2014 is when I got really involved with the truth movement and like podcast host and stuff like that. I ventured off to Australia with someone that was part of the New Age truth movement, and it didn't turn out so well. So yeah, that was a big part of that too as well, and a part of my awakening. But as far as in the spiritual side, I was really spiritual before, and that's probably what got me into the situation that I was in with the New Age movement and the truth movement.
Okay, you just mentioned your awakening, so I'm imagining that when you said your awakening happened when you were in Australia. So with every awakening that I've heard of so far, there's usually a terrible disaster that happens that triggers an awakening. I mean, is it different for you, or was it the same for you?
Well, I was a little bit awake back in 2011. Yeah. I thought I was awake. You know, all of us think we're awake, and we're just like rubbing the sleep out of our eyes when we're not really seeing much really what's going on. We're just, you know, like, oh, I'm awake. You know, like we just woke up in the mornings, you know. 2014, 2015, the time I went to Australia, I really got woken up. I was shook and awake. You know, it wasn't like, oh, this is great kind of awake. This was hell. I'm awake. I see what is going on. I'm awake. You know, like, and I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, it was, my awakening was with a bad relationship, someone that was claiming to be twin flame, you know, and when you first wake up, you're not thinking correctly, and you hear all this stuff with the truth movement and the New Age movement and spiritual people, you know, like everyone's looking for their twin flame, you know, and everyone's searching for that thing, you know, and at that time, that's where I was in this movement, you know. I was all, oh, twin flame, everybody was talking about it, you know, and so like, and that's how he found me, you know, like that's how we connected as far as in the twin flame thing. We were supposed to be twin flames, we were going to change the world, you know, and it turned out really bad, really fast once I got to Australia.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that you managed to change your own world, but not in the quite the way that you thought you were going to. Oh dear.
Right. I definitely changed my own world, and it definitely was a life-changing experience, you know, and that's where it really woke me up, you know, like it made me see what this movement really was about, you know. It wasn't about the love and light, you know, it was about the egos. And That's what it was about. And we see it a lot.
Sorry, are you talking about the truth movement or the new age? Because you kind of mentioned love and light, which I'm thinking is, I mean, the two are kind of intertwined in some places with some people, but they're actually I mean, in some ways, they're also very different as well. So how would you?
Right, they are very different movements. Definitely very different movements. The truth movement is more of the anarchist movement, the like people, you know, like who want to get like about 9/11, John F. Kennedy, you know, those kind of people. And then there's the spiritual movement. But if you notice, it's all like a combination going on with it all, you know, like it's just a movement, you know, everybody, the veil is lifting within ourselves, you know, and we're moving in different time periods, you know, and we're all waking up, I feel like, and it's all just combining all together, which it's not good because people are putting things together that shouldn't be together, you know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly. Like this whole business with the twin flame, they have like this idea of a twin flame, and then there's also your soulmate, and then what's the difference between the two of them? One of them's going to kick your ass and one of them isn't, or maybe they both do, I don't know, but people have their own ideas about what this is, but I don't know really, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if I buy into it.
Right. Well, like your soulmate, it's not someone, you know, your soulmate could be someone that has karmic ties. Like you have to go through a bunch of crap with one another. And the same with your twin flame, but that's, you know, your twin flame, you're more on more of a spiritual level together. Your soulmates, you could just be friends, you know, just click, you know what I mean? Your twin flame is, you know, it's an ancient tradition, it's an ancient teaching. And like the whole new age movement is just mixing all this hermetic teachings of, you know, the twin flame and, you know, the first man, you know, we were together, the man and woman were a one, you know, 4 arms, you know, like, you know, 2 heads, and then we were split. And that's where the twin flame comes into cross play with this all. You know, it's been taken, and then it's just about love now. It's not really, twin flames aren't about love. They're about soul connections, you know, like deep soul connections and ties with one another.
So you just mentioned, and it's something that I don't know about, is you mentioned that there's a tie with Hermetic Wisdom and the twin flame. I wasn't aware that there was any kind of mention of twin flame in Hermetic Wisdom. Is that right? Because that's not something that I've known.
From what I can, from what I remember, I think so. It's you know, the first man, you know, like if you see the what is it called? He's on the wheel. You know, he's got his arms out and it's on the wheel.
Yeah,
that's the first man. And like there have been people teaching that, you know, that's a man and a woman. Right. You know, like, because, you know, we have to have that inner energy of masculine and feminine energy, and that's where it's being misconstrued, is that masculine and feminine energy. Yeah. You know, and not everyone's going to have a twin flame. Not everyone's going to go the same path. Right. You know, but I feel like in this New Age movement and truth movement, people are using this information to feed their egos, and that's where I got caught up in Australia. It was more of an ego kind of thing. It really, you know, what had nothing to do with who I was as a person, you know. It was the whole socialism of it.
Okay, right. But you managed to get yourself out of that situation and start again.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And
that was a rough situation, let me tell you. That was rough. But I don't know how far deep you want to go into that, but
I don't know how deep you want to go. It's up to you. But I guess every time we fall, I mean, we grow each time, don't we? This is the thing. We avoid pain at any cost, but actually, it's through sitting through that pain and really trying to feel it and understand it and move through it and try and learn from it that we keep growing each time. And every time we do, we're kind of blessed in many ways. So you must have had your fair share of blessings, Cheryl.
I actually have had both really good blessings and really good, you know, terrible times, you know, but there are times where everybody wants to give up, you know, everybody wants to be like, why is this happening to me, you know, but once we have sat with ourselves and we come down to who we are as people, then we can see it a little bit clearer and we do grow.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you're right. So you mentioned in Australia, and I've heard this before, about when you have an awakening that you suddenly develop some new kind of psychic abilities, and they might not last forever, but they kind of, I mean, from my experience, and also from the experience I hear from other people, they say they don't last forever, and they're kind of short-lived, but they're really kind of they never leave your consciousness as well. So you're left with this kind of residue of something kind of spiritual upliftment or something. There's something that's new. But do you want to tell me a bit about your connection with animals?
Yeah, my connection, before I went to Australia, you know, I was trying to learn the culture. You know, I'm a Sagittarius, so I like new things, and I like to know, like, you know, and I like animals and stuff like that. And I have a grandson who I was showing videos of the different animals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like the kookaburra bird, where the kookaburra bird is a bird that laughs like a person. It sounds like it's a person laughing, right. But that's their territorial call. You know, that's how they wake up in the morning. That's how they show their territory. You know, it's like, but it sounds to us as humans like they're laughing. And so, like, my spiritual awakening and the gifts that I was given at that moment were the symbolisms in the birds. The birds, like over there in Australia, not just the kookaburra birds, but the barking owl. The barking owl was an omen in the native, the Aboriginal tradition. It sounds like woman. It sounds like a screaming woman or a puppy, because when it's like flying through the air and it screeches, it sounds like a woman screaming in turmoil. But when it's just sitting on the branch, it sounds like a puppy, like a puppy barking. Yeah, that's what it's called, the barking owl. And you know, it was just really the symbolism and the synchronicity of the things that would happen, the birds, the animals that would come into play at certain situations, you know. Right. Yeah. It really made me feel connected to something greater than myself. Because in that situation, I really needed that.
Yes, yeah.
You know, like I really needed, because I wasn't far away from home. I'm from the southern part of the United States. So I was on the other side of the world. And I didn't have a worker's visa. I only had a holiday visa, so I couldn't work, and I was stuck. And was going through a really hard time. So it's like the barking owl, like in a certain situation, they're supposed to be rare to see. And I walked right up to one, and it just looked at me. And then it flew in between me and the person that I was dealing with at the time, you know. And they're supposed to be rare, you know, like really interesting symbolism with the birds.
Yeah,
you know?
Beautiful. That's lovely. And now, now you're in a really good place, aren't you, Cheryl? And you're in
a... Yeah, I am. Actually.
And you're looking at your astrology, you're bringing that, and you're bringing your art. So do you want to talk about the things that you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, when I got back from Australia, I started making dream catchers, you know, and my art, and since I, you know, would draw out birth charts and stuff back in the day, I started getting back into birth charts and astrology and tarot cards and oracle cards. And, you know, the past like 4 years, I've been really hitting that hard and learning more about dreams and subconscious. And so I've been doing my art, which is dream catchers and driftwood art and wire trees. I like trees. I feel like a real connection to trees. I feel like they're just magnificent, you know, when I look up at a tree, you know. So I make wire trees and I put them in my dream catchers, and I've been getting into tarot cards more, so I would like to do that. And yeah, so, and I feel like the shadow work and all the stuff that I have been through has prepared me to help people deal with their own shadow work and their own hard times, you know, because I'm not a light and fluffy person. You know, I might smile and giggle like a light and kitty person, but, you know, I will go real deep with people, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I get, as you know, when you did your metric test, were you the extrovert? Were you the extrovert?
Yeah, I was the EFNP.
Right. Okay.
Extrovert. Yeah.
I think you were probably the only extrovert.
Well, it's funny because, you know, when I get around people that I'm comfortable with, I am kind of extroverted, but for the most part, I'm a hermit. Like, I seriously am a hermit. like I moved to a town that I don't know anyone, that, you know, I have no clue, you know, of anyone, you know, and I'm starting a job, and, you know, I'm still doing my own thing online. I'm definitely an extrovert online. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess like online community, we were kind of saying just before we started filming that it's pretty incredible that, you know, we've got this facility that I can talk to you. I mean, you know, just outside London, you're in America somewhere. So the time differences, and the fact that, you know, as I was saying before, I was never even using social media before I started this group, and then suddenly I have all these connections with these people, and I know about their lives, and it's been brilliant to have that. So we're really lucky in many ways. Something was said recently on the Unslaved podcast by Michael Desarin, saying that that people aren't doing their shadow work. But I've been thinking lately, I've been kind of feeling that, and I'm hopeful that off the back of the New Age movement, anyone who can see how crass and how it doesn't really deal with all aspects of the personality, the people that will notice that, hopefully are going to carry on searching, and hopefully be drawn to something like this, which is a far more sort of authentic version of shadow work. It doesn't have to be even called shadow work. It could be just looking into psychology. You know, I mean, just looking into psychology alone, and especially looking into Jungian psychology, is going to bring most people to that kind of thing. And what I've also found is, you know, just the quotes alone. And I noticed on your group, on your page, you do a lot of really great quotes. So much that I'm also kind of saying, God, I wish I got that before she did, so I could put it on my group, because they are really good. But I think people really learn from them. Like just that those quotes alone, you know, if you can be reflective, if you can kind of point them back at yourself, that there's quite a lot in them for people to learn. So that must be why you're doing the same, by kind of posting for your watchers too. Yeah.
Yes, I've been following the Unslaved group for a long time now, and for just, you know, that work, Cesarian's work, you know, for many years, and David's work as well. And yeah, I love, you know, psychology and philosophy, and not a lot of people do. And I can see some people doing shadow work in this movement, but I can also see the opposite, where people aren't doing their shadow work, and they see people through a lens of their own. You know what I mean? A lens that they put down. They see other people like that. So I can see his views on that as well, but I can see some people. I think that, like, your group is really good for us to get that going, you know, to put all of it together as not so much shadow work, but the psychology of it all, where we are digging deep. And I have a couple of quotes right here.
Oh, yeah.
Dreams. Dreams spin out from the same web. All dreams spin out from the same web. That's a Hopi.
Okay.
It said that wisdom lies not in seeing things, but seeing.
Oh, sorry, you've gone, Cheryl.
Am I back?
You're back. You're back in the room. Yeah. So read the last one again, so we didn't catch it.
Okay, it is said that wisdom lies in seeing things, not seeing things, but seeing through things. Manly P. Hall. And I have another one from him. Symbolism is the language of the mysteries. By symbols, men have sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language.
Love that. Isn't it just the way? But you know, the problem is that most of us have actually just forgotten the language of the dream. And I try to, whenever anyone puts a dream up on the site, I usually try to interpret it in the only way that I can. And I'm not even sure if I'm right, to be honest. I know I can only give what I feel is true, but I try to kind of give examples of how I see things, but actually the most important person's interpretation is the dreamer. It's always their interpretation that's right. The most important. Yeah,
exactly. You know, and you asked me when we were setting up this, you asked me if I had any dreams lately.
Yeah.
And you know, I thought about it after we talked, you know, and I told you about my dream a little bit of the swastika.
Yeah.
And that it was up in the corner. And, you know, I usually don't remember a lot of dreams. There are a few that I remember that stand out. but this one was interesting because I don't, research the swastika. I don't, I wasn't thinking about, there was nothing in my life that would have just been in my face, so I would have dreamed it. So here lately, I've been having this subconscious battle about the word anarchy in our system that we live in. And how, like, and in the dream that I had, I just looked up in the corner of my room, and the swastika was switching. It was turning, like, it moved, it like switched around on me, and then it was the one.
It turned the other way. It turned the other way, did it?
Yeah, it was turned the other way, then it turned the other way. I'm not sure which way when I just vaguely remember it. And that was the dream. So I feel like that for me was that internal battle of how words and symbols can be switched around and used against us, because I've been in the truth movement, there's talking about words like words master, or the word anarchy, or the word like just words in general, and people use them out of different contexts. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Right. Okay. So what do you think that the message was in that? Do you think there was a message in it, or do you think it's just maybe something that's kind of pointing you in a direction of thought, maybe more than anything?
I think it was pointing me in a direction of thought. Yes. I don't think it was a message from me, because I feel like even all the hardship and all the troubles that I've had over the years, because I am on a spiritual path, I feel like I'm good center wise as far as what I believe is the truth with who I am and the experiences I've had in my life,
Yeah.
So it was a direction of thought. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So have you had any other dreams lately? Have you had any kind of have you had any experience of or thought about or dealt with the animus inside? Have you had any sort of, what has been your experience of animus?
The animus within inside me, yeah. Just like most of us who don't even know what that is, I just realized what it was just these past couple of months. So like with the enslaved group, with their work on the shadow work and Carl Jung's work. And so now that I think about it over the time, I've definitely used that lens, of my masculine, like what I think a masculine man should be, or what I think a man should be, you know what I mean? Like, and how they should approach me, and not thinking about how they're seeing me, So that's a big issue, I think, nowadays with a lot of people,
Yeah. Okay. And how about in the way that you relate to men? Has that been something that you thought about? I'm not sure how much information you've seen on the group, but I don't know when you started, because I started the group 3 months ago, and I did do a bit of work on Animus quite early on. And so I'm just wondering, have you had any kind of thought about how you relate to men, how you see them? Is it the way that the kind of society has kind of led you down a garden path on how you see them, as opposed to how they really are, which is something that I found myself, was that I felt that after a lot of introspection, I kind of felt like both men and women have both been sort of duped in terms of what we think we are, and in terms of what we think the opposite sex is as well. And so we have all of these expectations that are never really right, and so you go through this process. So what was yours? What was your story about that? Or do you have one?
Well, I've had, through growing up, I actually had, my grandfather was a good role model in my life, and I had some really good role models as men. And I've had, relationships with men that have been really good, that are solid, that, we're friends. There's no like, that we can come to each other and be truthful in who we are as people. But then there's those relationships that I feel like the person in Australia, that if I wouldn't have been looking through a lens, I probably wouldn't have been in that situation, because at that moment I was looking through an animus, like I was looking about what I wanted as a person, and he showed up that way, even though that's not who he was,
But that's it. I mean, how do we know? I mean, perhaps if the animus inside was more well developed, perhaps then you would notice. Perhaps you'd notice the signs. I don't know, but we can still be duped.
Well, yeah, I would have noticed. what I would have noticed since 2015, since that experience, I would have noticed the love bombing.
Yeah.
I would have noticed the putting me up on a pedestal without ever knowing who I was as a person, with not ever meeting me in person.
Okay.
That's what I would have noticed.
Okay.
Because, you know, when you meet people in person,
Mm-hmm.
you don't automatically assume that they're the greatest person in the world.
No.
You know, because you see body language. And that's what the problem is nowadays with, when we have it's great that we can communicate through online and stuff like that. But the only way to really get to know someone is to be around them.
Absolutely.
And so it's easy for us to place that animus and anima
Mm-hmm.
in front of ourselves or in front of other people online.
To project
it's
it,
so easy.
definitely, yeah. And that's the whole problem with social media dating, online dating as well, isn't it? Because I mean, you can kind of you can dream someone up into all kinds of fairy tale. You know, this guy's going to come and just sweep you off your feet or something. And you meet them and they're just like, ugh.
Exactly what happened. He came and swept me off my feet. He put me on the pedestal. And then when I got over there, he knocked me down. And then I didn't know what happened.
Oh, no. My goodness. It's
so many words.
It's not an uncommon story, though, Cheryl. You know, I think it's a learning process as well, isn't it? And I think that once you've been through that, and especially when you get to our age, because I think we're both 42, aren't we? Kind of get to our age and you think, okay, this is how things really, really work. And it's like the blinkers do come off and you can see things for how they really are. And in a way, there's a bit of disappointment in that as well, because like, there's something lovely about this idea that someone's going to come and sweep you off your feet, because it means that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be anything. You can just be this little... you know, and there, I think probably from social programs,
helpless, save me.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that there's this, like Michael Tessarian says, there is this infantile state that we kind of that seems quite lovely and nurturing and, I don't know, comfortable, but actually it's far from that. You know, when you get to our age, or when you get to, you know, adulthood, that's not for us anymore. And I think that's where the ideas have to change. I don't know what it's like for the TV in America, but over in England we have a lot of soaps, and a lot of people kind of sit around at night time every night and they watch different soaps, and that is a blueprint for a lot of relationships. So they see these soaps and they're constantly being horrible to each other, and then you've got like people sleeping with each other's wives or each other's sisters and brothers. The storyline is so hideous. And then we wonder why we see it in our day-to-day lives, and it's in front of us every day. You know, that's programming. That's in your home.
See, I don't even own a TV. I want to get one just to get Netflix so I can watch movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. There's like, I think nowadays there's even back like in the early 2000s, there was a show called like Tropical or Love Paradise or something, where they put a bunch of single people on an island.
Love Island, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so silly, you know, it really is. And then with all the dating sites, like, you really don't get to know someone. It's just a picture.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really damaging. It's so, and people have to be so careful about what they consume in terms of what they watch, you know, as well as anything else. And even with Netflix as well. I mean, I've got Netflix, and I very rarely watch it anyway, but the few times that I do, I always have nightmares. Like some of the most sort of subtle programs or sort of kind of series, they're interesting. They capture your imagination, but that's just it. They go into your imagination. They become part of your dreams. They become part of your thought processes. You know, so you have to be very careful about you know, anything that you watch, but you will never know what is that. Huh?
It's part of the Native American cards that I have. It's a dream catcher, but the card itself is called the Dream Trap.
Okay, tell us.
So I thought it would be proper.
Yeah. So tell us, well, what is
the Dream Trap?
Tell us.
Get caught in those traps.
Okay. So you were going to tell us a bit about
cutting out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. You were going to tell us a little bit about dream walkers as well. Do you want to touch on that?
Oh yeah, yes. Well, there's dream walkers, and they can also be called spirit walkers.
Right.
And there's two definitions of it. Like you could, some people say that dream walkers, they can walk into your dream and they can, you know, mess with your dreams a little bit. And also the spirit walkers could just not really walk into your dreams, but they can project their subconscious out. They're the type of the spiritual people. They want to heal the world through their spirit, so they can project their consciousness or their subconscious out to people, you know, as teachers and stuff like that. And so I think it would be a good topic to talk about, like maybe correlating dreams that people have with one another about these certain teachers and certain topics that these come out as, you know what I mean? The archetype in our subconscious that we dream about as our teachers, you know what I mean?
Okay, right. Oh, wow. So have you got any special gifts in terms of your dreams? Is there anything that you can do which is sort of out of the ordinary with your dreams?
No, not with my dreams. Like I've had dreams that come true over the years, you know, especially when I was younger. I've had dreams like that happen over and over, you know, but they're more of a teaching dream, you know.
Okay.
But as far as I'm not a lucid dreamer. I haven't tried to do that. So I think maybe if I tried, I could, but because I think all of us could, you know, if we really wanted to.
I think I think we all could, yeah, if we tried. I have what I do in my dreams is I during the dream I'm in it, but I'm also watching it, and I'm also interpreting as I'm watching. So I have these kind of like twofold things where I'm kind of in the dream and I'm also watching and interpreting the whole time as well, which is quite strange. I think that's quite normal as well. I think that it's not on
interpreting it at the same time as
But anyway,
you know, we were talking about the TV. You know, I brought this subject up, the TV and your dreams. How if you fall asleep to the TV, you start having these dreams about whatever's going on in the TV. And I noticed that like a long time ago. So I stopped falling asleep to the TV. I started falling asleep to like metaphysical lectures, podcasts, and stuff like that. And I also did a little bit of research on like brain waves, like a theta and beta and all that. And I think in theta, like you get hypnotized, and that's when you're asleep. So if you're still listening while you're asleep, your brain is still taking in whatever's going on in your surroundings. So I feel like, you know, we always talk about reprogramming our subconscious, right? And I feel like if people started listening to, like, say, Manly P. Hall about anything or anything they want to learn as they're falling asleep, they can absorb it more. And I totally feel that's helped me since 2011, because that's when I stopped doing it. I started listening to lectures and stuff. So, and it absorbs. So
absolutely. Yeah, I've been doing the same as well for the past, since 2011 as well. I very often had on Manly P. Hall. I fell asleep to him many, many times. But you know what happens is I used to listen to them on YouTube, and then afterwards there'd be something else that you wouldn't want to listen to that would be kind of scary. So I'd wake up at like 4 a.m. with this deathly, horrible sound going on and this horrible speech or something about death or something horrible. But it all goes in anyway. That much is for sure. You don't have to be awake for that. Your brain's always taking it in. It's always listening. All right, I think that we're nearly up to the time now, Cheryl, but it's been great speaking to you. It's been really good.
Yes,
So, is there anything more that you wanted to touch on before we go?
Well, I got a couple of cards out here just to show you a little bit. Like, well, I've got the Neptune card out. I don't know how blurry, if you could see it.
I can, lovely, beautiful,
It's the Neptune. And, you know, right now we're having today, Pluto is stationed to go direct in Capricorn. And which, you know, that has some correlation with Neptune, because we've been in a lot of delusional states, you know, with our subconscious, and we're talking about dreams, and Neptune controls dreams. So we have the dream, you know, the dream trap. So I just wanted to let everybody know not to get caught in your dreams and still live in a little bit of reality.
Okay.
You know, because I think a lot of people in the New Age movement get caught up in the dream trap.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You know, that's not good to have dreams, but not to just see your dream. you know, not, you know, we live in a physical reality. I also have the Chiron card here.
Okay.
The Chiron relates to the Seven of Cups in the regular tarot deck.
Okay.
Healing, so emotional healing. Chiron is in Aries right now, so we're going to be healing our own self-expressions and how the world views us.
Okay.
And then also have the Hangman, because we're all in, you know, that kind of hangman state. But my main card here is the blank tarot card.
Ooh, never seen that before.
I have a blank tarot card. Well, I feel like, you know, with tarot cards, they are archetypes, you know, of what energy what's going on in our lives, you know. And a blank tarot card is good to let everyone know that, you know, no matter through the archetypes that we live through, we can always write our fortune. We always write our next chapter. Okay. And once we dig deep within our subconscious and heal, those chapters get better.
Brilliant.
And that's why the blank tarot card.
Yeah, I love that. I've got a few decks, but I don't have a blank. I've never seen a blank before. That's new to me. I might have
It came with one of my decks that I had a couple of years ago. You're supposed to draw on it, your own card.
Oh, really?
But I like,
yeah,
I like the fact that a blank tarot card, because people get a little weirded out. Oh, you're going to tell my fortune. You're going to tell me my future. No, I'm not telling you your future. I'm telling you that if you make these choices, these are the choices you have, and this is what you can do. You know what I mean?
Well, it's about potentiality, isn't it? The blank card is about potentiality.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I need some blank tarot cards. That's what I need. There's a whole deck of blank tarot cards.
Right, you write your own fortune, and you live through all the archetypes one way or another, you know.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, listen. Well, good luck with your tarot. So your reading. So what kind of readings are you providing for people? Will you tell us a bit about that before you go?
Yes, I have a Neptune spread. I call it the light of Neptune because I want to shine a light on the delusions, and I want to shine a light to illuminate the gifts that we all bring forth in the world with our spirit, with our own God's eye, our own, you know, soul. And that's where Neptune comes into play, is that Neptune shows you where you're good, what you're good at with bringing forth, you know. Neptune in certain placements can be really good with like Reiki healing. Neptune could be good with lots of things, but we all have to first see where our delusions are.
Right.
You know, I also make birth chart dream catchers. So you can have a visualization of your birth chart without having to go online. You can hang it on your wall. I mean, this is just an example. It could be whatever. And that's what I've been doing. So.
Brilliant. Okay. And so if people want a reading from you, they can go on to Cheryl Ashburn page, and then they can find you there. Is that right?
Yeah, Cheryl Ashburn on Facebook, or I could do Cosmic Dream Oracle on Facebook as well.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay,
and
that's great.
My email address is nomadic@gmail.com.
Okay, that's great. Right, well, listen, it's been great to speak to you. I hope we can chat again another time. Yeah, thank you very much, Cheryl, and thanks for being part of the group.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Bye.